There's a spare one because I didn't bother counting while I was in the shop. And I ate it, and then I was awake at 3 o'clock the next morning feeling decidedly sorry for myself. I actually felt like I was hungover. So that, for me, kind of proves my point that, actually, I don't think I need sugar in my life. I don't think anybody does. I think there's plenty of science there to prove it. And it's worth noting, actually, that the reason it isn't widely publicised about sugar is that big sugar, at the moment, is in the same position that big tobacco was in before we all realised that smoking gives you cancer. They did actually, if you read World Health Organization recommendations, they recommend sugar in moderation, a moderate amount. And of course, moderation, that's different for everybody. Anybody can come up with, I think moderation is probably about 30 teaspoons a day. Yeah, okay, that can be your moderation, any figure you can pluck out of thin air can be called in moderation. The reason they say that, I read somewhere that actually the big sugar corporations said to the World Health Organization, in not so many words, if you recommend that people don't eat sugar, we will lobby the US government to remove their billions of dollars of funding from the World Health Organization. In the 70s, when a study came out and people started to think that perhaps sugar is the bad guy here and not fat, Big Sugar hired a PR guy who was later involved in the big tobacco PR situation that went a bit bad. They hired a PR, and they actually won an award for their PR for turning it around and making it so that everybody believed that sugar was good for you. So when you look into it, I do think sugar is the bad guy. There are lobbyists out there trying to ridicule any scientist that comes up with the actual truth. There are lab rats all over the world dying from all sorts of diseases because they've been fed fructose. And it's worth bearing all of that in mind. And I'm hoping that this time next week I'll be telling you all about all the weight I lost and that I'm feeling fantastic and that I'm not eating any sugar at all. So do watch this space. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for listening. I do hope you found it interesting and useful. I'd love to hear some feedback. I'd love to hear from you. If you're giving up sugar or you're thinking about it, or you think it's a load of rubbish and you think that fat is the bad guy in this situation, I'd love to hear what people think about it. I find it really interesting. Thanks very much for listening, and do come back next week.